Walk through any equipment auction in the country, and you will spot something strange. The mowers that sell for the most money are often the oldest ones on the lot. 15 years old, thousands of hours on the clock, paint worn down to bare metal, and buyers still fight over them. Meanwhile, the shiny 3-year-old machine from the big box store can barely give itself away. That right there tells you everything the brochures will not. Because most zero turns today are not built to last. They are built to expire. Engineered to clear the warranty and start nickel and diming you the very next season. A deck so thin, the first hidden rock bends it for good. A transmission sealed shut, so you cannot fix it, only replace it for nearly the price of the whole machine. A drive belt quietly counting down to the exact moment you have got a full yard and no time to spare. But scattered across America, a few stubborn companies build the complete opposite. They overbuild the frame until it is almost comical, hunt down every weak point and engineer it out, and bolt in the same merciless commercial hardware that working crews bet their paycheck on every single morning. Today, I am putting 4 of those machines in front of you. 2 priced so a regular homeowner can actually own one, and 2 beasts that will likely still be running long after your truck is in a junkyard. And I have saved the toughest one for the very end. The machine landscapers call by a single name they refuse to use on anything else. Let's start with the one that proves you don't need a commercial budget to buy commercial steel, the Toro Z Master 6000 series. Here's the thing about Toro, most people don't register. This isn't some lawn and garden brand that wandered into commercial mowers. Toro's been building turf equipment since 1914. That's over a century of figuring out what breaks and engineering it out. And the Z Master 6000 is where all that knowledge lands in a machine a serious homeowner can realistically own. The whole durability story here starts with the deck. Most mowers, even decent ones, run a 10-gauge steel deck and call it commercial. Toro builds the Turbo Force deck on this thing out of 7-gauge high-strength steel. And I want to be specific because these are Toro's own published numbers, not my guess. That 7-gauge is 33% thicker and over 30% higher in yield strength than the ordinary 10-gauge steel in those lighter decks, which adds up to a deck that's a full 75% stronger. In plain terms, you hit a root, clip a hidden rock, drag it over gravel. The stuff that permanently dents and warps a thin deck just bounces off this one. Then there's the part you can't see. Instead of the usual maze of hydraulic hoses and fittings, every one of which is a potential leak waiting to happen, the 6000 uses a unitized pump and wheel motor setup. Fewer hoses means fewer leak points, which means fewer of those slow hydraulic failures that quietly kill a transmission. And the oil guard system stretches oil changes to 500 hours, so you're spending less time wrenching and more time cutting. Up top, you've got your pick of commercial power, a 37-horse Vanguard EFI, a Kawasaki FX, or a Kohler EFI, depending on the model. These are the same engine families that run all day on professional crews, not the disposable stuff bolted to a box store special. Now let me be straight on the numbers, because that's the whole point of this channel. Toro doesn't stamp a "lasts forever" sticker on the box, and I won't either, but under genuine heavy commercial use, a machine like this is generally estimated to run somewhere in the 2,500 to 3,500 hour range before it needs serious work. Now flip it to your situation. If you're a homeowner cutting a couple of acres a week through the season, you will physically not live long enough to put that many hours on it. For you, 2,500 hours isn't a limit. It's a promise that this is the last mower you're shopping for. And here's where it earns its spot as the entry to this list. You're getting century-old commercial engineering and a near-bulletproof deck at the most accessible, serious money price of the 4. It's the proof that buy once doesn't have to mean spend everything. But as overbuilt as that Toro deck is, it's still got a suspension problem that every rigid frame mower shares. And the next machine on this list was invented specifically to solve it. That one rides on something none of the others have.
Number 3 is the massive Ferris ISX 3300. And this is the exact machine that fixes a brutal mechanical problem the entire lawn care industry just silently decided to live with. Think about what actually happens to the steel frame when a normal, rigid zero-turn mower hits a thick tree root, a deep mud rut, or a hidden rock at full speed. That entire violent impact has absolutely nowhere to go. It slams straight up through the caster wheels, into the steel chassis, into the structural bolts, into the factory welds, and directly up into your lower spine. Now multiply that precise violent hit by thousands of cycles a season, year after year. That is not a simple operator comfort problem. That is a slow-motion, calculated, mechanical demolition of the entire machine. It causes cracked welds under the deck, critical bolts that slowly rattle loose, and wiring harnesses that inevitably fail from constant micro-vibration. The frame has basically been quietly beating itself to death from the day you brought it home. Ferris looked at that structural engineering flaw and did something absolutely nobody else in the business committed to. They put a real automotive-grade independent suspension system under the entire machine. Their signature forefront system utilizes 2 independent control arms on each front wheel, paired up with heavy-duty, tuned coilover shocks that completely soak up the kinetic impact before it ever reaches the main chassis. The heavy cutting deck actually floats perfectly in tandem with the suspension instead of fighting against it. And here is the absolute kicker for a true buy-once machine. This is not just about a smoother, couch-like ride for your back, though it certainly feels like one. Every single impact that high-travel suspension absorbs is an impact that the steel frame does not have to endure. Less shock traveling into the machine structure translates directly to 0 stress fractures, 0 loose fasteners, and completely eliminating vibration-killed electrical wiring. On rough, unleveled ground at maximum speed, which are the exact conditions that murder ordinary mowers the fastest, this machine is actively protecting its own metal skeleton with every single bump you cross. In fact, Ferris is so incredibly confident in this unbreakable structural design that they have officially doubled down, backing their coilover shocks and suspension components with a massive, industry-shattering 10-year limited warranty. That is not a cheap marketing line written by a copywriter. That is an elite manufacturer putting a full decade of legal warranty straight where their engineering is. The entire rest of the powertrain completely backs up that level of commercial durability. You are running dual, ultra-heavy-duty Hydrogear Z T5400 transaxles, which sit at the absolute top of Hydrogear's industrial lineup, packed with massive 9-inch cooling fans so the internal hydraulics can never cook or degrade under extreme summer loads. The primary power plant is a monstrous 40-horsepower Vanguard big block electronic fuel-injected engine that features their proprietary oil guard system, stretching your routine maintenance out to 500 continuous hours while keeping the internal bearings swimming in pristine lubrication. Down at the cutting level, the heavy-duty ICD deck runs their legendary Hercules cast iron spindles, the massive industrial greasable shafts that refuse to wobble or warp out of round after a few hard seasons. Now, let us look at full, unedited honesty here, because this is where I completely split away from the glossy sales brochure. The ISX runs a belt-driven deck, but instead of the fragile single-belt system that lesser brands use, Ferris engineered a specialized 2-belt drive system that cuts the tension load and heat friction in half, drastically extending the life of the rubber. So no, This is not the drive shaft machine that eliminates the deck belt entirely, and you need to know that going in. The entire durability argument for this Ferris machine rests squarely on the advanced engineering of the chassis and how that 10-year suspension protects the frame and every single high-dollar component bolted to it. And that engineering argument is completely real. When it comes to the real-world numbers, you are looking at an investment of roughly $18,000 to $19,000, depending on your specific deck size. There is no dodging it. This is a serious step up into true premium commercial-grade iron. But you are cutting a check for a highly advanced piece of machinery that is specifically engineered to never shake itself apart on the exact same brutal terrain that quietly destroys everything else in the garage. Number 2 is the legendary eXmark Lazer Z X-Series. And the absolute best part about this machine's reliability argument is that it is not actually being made by eXmark's marketing department. It is being made directly by the rugged secondary used market, which is the only true mechanical judge that can never be bought or bribed. Here is a fascinating pattern you will immediately notice if you ever drive past a high-end commercial landscaping operation running 10, 20, or 30 serious machines stacked flat on their flatbed trailers. More of those industrial trailers carry the signature red eXmark brand than absolutely anything else in the business. That is not a paid advertisement. That is a ruthless commercial purchasing decision made over and over again by savvy business owners who track operating cost per hour like a hawk and know exactly to the dollar what a dead, broken mower costs them on a crisp Tuesday morning with 8 premium commercial lawns booked. Those guys do not buy a machine based on a pretty paint color. They buy strictly based on what mechanically survives the daily grind. The Lazer Z platform has stood firm as the undisputed gold standard in commercial zero turns for over 30 long years, and their premier X-Series represents the absolute peak of that engineering legacy. Up top, you get your pick of true big block commercial power plants, including the high-capacity Kawasaki FX series, heavy-duty Kohlers, or a massive 37-horsepower Vanguard electronic fuel injection engine paired with that pristine 500-hour oil guard system. Running an EFI system matters immensely for the long haul because it constantly monitors and forces the engine to run cleaner and leaner, completely cutting down on the premature cylinder wall wear that slowly kills traditional carbureted engines over time. The heavy-duty Ultracut Series 6 deck comes in massive cutting sizes, extending all the way up to an industrial 96-inch wide flex wing design. To ensure the spinning cutting blades never create a breakdown, eXmark completely deleted the old grease points under the deck. Instead, these massive blade spindles completely ride on double-row, completely sealed, industrial-grade bearings housed inside a massive 7.75-inch diameter cutter housing. That means you are never crawling under the dirty frame every single week with a messy grease gun. And more importantly, those bearings can physically never fail from abrasive dirt or fine sand getting trapped inside them. Even better, they engineered specialized splined blade drivers rather than ordinary smooth shafts. This means when a blade violently strikes a buried boulder or a solid iron pipe at maximum speed, the rotational shock load is distributed across heavy-duty steel splines rather than snapping the spindle bolt or warping the shaft out of alignment. But if you want the real, unvarnished durability proof, look straight at the strong resale value. Even after 3 or 4 years of brutal, non-stop commercial abuse with thousands of hard hours clocked on the engine meter, buyers will still line up down the block to pay serious premium money for a used Lazer Z. Stop and think about what that reality actually means for your wallet. The people paying top dollar for a used model are the exact mechanics and operators who know best what these machines look like on the inside after years of extreme torture. If a multi-year-old unit still commands a massive premium, that is not a clever ad campaign. That is thousands of field professionals voting with their hard-earned wallets on a machine that simply refuses to quit. On the money side, the flagship Lazer Z X-Series typically runs anywhere from $17,000 up past $21,000, depending on your deck width and exact engine choices. It is a massive chunk of change, but you are buying the exact iron that the pros rely on specifically because it costs them drastically less over its active operational life than the cheap box store stuff costs over half that time. You buy this machine exactly once, and when you are finally done with it years down the road, it will still command a serious check on the back end. Almost nothing else sitting in your garage can honestly say that. But I saved the absolute most overbuilt, structurally bulletproof machine for the #1 spot. The only mower on the market that took the single most common, frustrating mechanical failure point in the entire industry and just completely deleted it from the blueprints. No deck belts to snap, no pulleys to lock up. Let me show you how they did it. Number 1. The Scag Turf Tiger 2. Ask any landscapers across the country to describe this thing, and you keep hearing the same word. One they don't hand out to anything else. Indestructible. Start with the bones. The Turf Tiger 2 rides on a heavy tubular steel frame Scag built specifically to eat the punishment of all-day commercial work without fatiguing. This is the machine people genuinely hand down, the one that's still cutting when its original owner has retired. But here's the engineering decision that actually sets it apart, and I want to explain it precisely because this is exactly where lazy reviews get it wrong. On almost every zero turn ever made, power travels from the engine to the deck through one long drive belt. That belt is the single most notorious failure point in the entire category. It stretches, it slips under load, it snaps at the worst possible moment, and the tensioner bearings wear out behind it. The Turf Tiger 2 deletes that long belt. Scag runs a solid steel drive shaft from the engine straight back to the deck instead. No long belt to stretch, no slip, no roadside snap. Now, full honesty, because that's the whole point of this channel, and don't let anyone tell you different in the comments. This does not mean the machine has zero belts. Inside the deck itself, that drive shaft spins an Ogura clutch, and a short, self-adjusting Kevlar-corded belt still turns the blades. So there's still a belt in there. What Scag eliminated is the long, exposed, high-stress primary belt, the one that actually fails, and replaced it with a drive shaft. That's a real, meaningful durability upgrade. It's just not magic, and I'm not going to sell it to you as magic. The rest is pure Scag overkill. The Velocity Plus deck runs cast iron spindles on tapered roller bearings. Not stamped, not plastic, the heavy stuff that survives years of impact. Dual hydro gear pumps with Parker wheel motors and a standard oil cooler keep the hydraulics from cooking under load. And up top, your choice of commercial Kawasaki or Briggs Vanguard power in EFI or DFI. Under a proper maintenance schedule, these machines are documented running past 4,000 hours. Let that number land. 4,000 hours. If you're a homeowner cutting a couple acres a week, you will physically never reach it. That's not a service life, that's an inheritance. And if you're a pro running it 8 hours a day, it's 5 to 7 years of daily income without a catastrophic failure. That's the most honest review a mower can get. Not a star rating, but the people whose paycheck depends on it, betting their livelihood on it every single morning. So there's your 4. The Toro, with a deck built to shrug off rocks. The Ferris, riding on a suspension that protects its own frame. The eXmark, which the used market refuses to let depreciate. And the Scag, that took the industry's worst failure point and engineered most of it out of existence. Here's the thread connecting all four, and it's the one thing no marketing budget can buy. Every machine on this list is chosen, every single day, by professionals who literally cannot afford for it to break. That's the only endorsement in this category that means anything. A homeowner buys based on color and price. A landscaper buys on what's still running after 5 years of abuse. And these are what they buy. So before you spend a dime at a big box store on something built to die the month after the warranty does, ask yourself the only question that matters. Do you want to buy a mower once, or do you want to keep buying the same disappointment every 3 years? Drop a comment and tell me which of these four you'd put in your garage. Or if you've owned one, tell me how many hours you've got on it. That real-world number is worth more than any spec sheet. And if you want more breakdowns like this, the stuff the brochures and the box store sales floor will never tell you, subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is built to do.